A lot of people quit way too early. They quit when they're just about to see the transformation. Hi guys, this is Faye again, and this channel is created to help independent creators just like you, celebrate your creative and financial freedom. And in this video, I want to share with you the truth and really debunk the misconceptions with podcasting and the things that the famous podcasters don't really tell you about. So when I started the Faye's World podcast in 2014, I had no expectation. We didn't have a plan. I certainly did not expect massive downloads and how I could possibly make a living out of podcasting. It was just unrealistic. And guess what? This is not to discourage any of you who is thinking about starting a podcast. It's simply because when I looked around, nobody I knew was necessarily podcasting. And the ones that I learned about on the internet, very few of those were making a living. So I didn't want to, set myself up for failure and with an unrealistic goal. At the time when I started my podcast, I had a full-time job. And truth be told, it was wearing on me. And I knew that I wanted to do something creative, that I have the full creative control. Unlike working in advertising, there are a lot of red tapes and pushing paper around. At the end of the day, most projects don't see the light of day. It's crazy and very depressing sometimes. So I wanted to change that reality for me. So here's the thing. You may be wondering, Faye, what was it like for you in school and at your job? Maybe not never, but I was rarely picked to stand on a podium, express my mind, to speak on behalf of the company, even my team. No, it wasn't really me. So I had to choose myself. The book that had a huge influence on me was James Altucher's Choose Yourself. Please, whatever you want to do, podcasting, blogging, writing, please choose yourself and do something. And I want to say that's especially the case if you're a woman. If you're a woman with children, with a family you need to support. So the 5 things I want to share with you regarding the myth and things that people don't talk to you about podcasting is number 1, it's a long game. So even if you're a YouTuber, what you can do is you probably subscribe to a number of channels like me. So you go to the channel, then you hit videos. You're going to see a ton of video. It's automatically sorted by most recent, but you can actually switch that into the oldest videos. And check out the oldest videos. Many of them from the channels you love are from at least 3 years ago. Many of them are actually from 7, 8, or 10 plus years ago. You're going to see hundreds of videos and the videos they have already deleted and made private. There are work that creators don't like as much. They started to hide, make private. I actually hate that because I love the raw materials they first launched. I love those content. It's a long game. It's not something that you can put a timeline on and say, you know what, I'm starting a podcast. And I know it's hard because you're giving up on something else. Maybe for you, that means your Tuesday and Thursday nights, you can't really commit yourself to friends gathering anymore. You can't just sit on the couch and watch your favorite TV shows and binge watch them all, hang out with your family, even over the weekend. There are sacrifices, but it's not something you can say, I need to make money in 6 months, a year, otherwise I'm going to quit. Because a lot of people quit way too early. They quit when they're just about to see the transformation. Number 2, let's talk about hard work. I haven't really seen a lot of reflection videos from podcasters because it's, oh my God, the work is so hard and can be so miserable sometimes. I remember those days when I worked a full-time job and started my podcast. I was literally standing in my office that didn't look as good as the way that I've set up right now. Literally on a standing desk at 1, 2 in the morning. I remember crying a couple of times and just thinking, what am I doing? But it was really hard. Here's the good news. If it were easy, a lot of people would be doing it. Really think about it. If podcasting, blogging, and creating videos were easy, everybody would be doing it, and you have a lot more competition. So in case you're wondering if there's a ton of competition for podcasting and there's no room for you anymore, it's not true. I just got back from Podcast Movement in Orlando, and I learned the real stats, which is podcasting is certainly in the mainstream right now, but guess what? It only occupies 6 to 7% of the media market. That's tiny. There are approximately 750 to about 800 shows on iTunes. I don't know if they're all being actively updated. When I started, it was about 250 to 300,000 podcasts back in 2014. There's more competition now, but it still is a small fraction of the market. So you've got a chance. If you have stories you want to share them. The last thing I'll say about the hard work, my favorite quote from Seth Godin: seek emotional labor, dance with fear. Podcasting certainly is emotional labor. The third thing I want to talk about is downloads alone from your podcast really is not the only way to make money. We have a separate video created for this topic, and make sure that even if you have 100, 200, or generally less than $500 per episode, you can still make money. In fact, you can make a lot more money than if you're relying on advertising and brands alone. Think about it for a second. Roughly out of every 10,000 downloads, brands are willing to pay anywhere between $250 to $400. And this was the number a few years ago, and it could be less because the market is a little bit more competitive, as we just talked about. You could use your podcast as a crazy marketing engine. Doesn't matter how small your platform is. You may be thinking, Faye, really, I have 100 likes on my Facebook page. I get, roughly a few hundred downloads per episode. How do I possibly seek out the right people? Guess what? Even if it's the right 1, 2, or 3 people listen to the show, those people might be hiring you for the services you're offering. I highly recommend that you watch the video that we created called How to Make a Living as a Podcaster Without Counting Downloads. So check it out. Number 4, think strategically, plan accordingly, but the most important thing is to ship. Means you have to launch your show. It doesn't matter how perfect it is or how imperfect it is. If you don't launch it, nobody's going to hear that. So whatever it may be, you want to launch it on Google Podcasts, iTunes, which is Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, doesn't matter. Launch your show. Yes, you probably heard from these famous podcasters. They have these launch plans. They aren't wrong. But by thinking that you need to have 10, 15 episodes in the bag, that you need to target the XYZ market, you have to have all these call to actions, you have all your scripts ready, guess what? A lot of people don't launch. I know this from running my mastermind hangout with over 80 people. So many people plan diligently and then take them for years and years. And unfortunately, if your content isn't evergreen, after 6 months to a year, you realize your content is no longer relevant and the whole thing dies. So please ship. Something that's harder than producing the episodes, which takes, weeks and months, is to imagine if other people are going to listen to it. If you have a story out there, people will come. You won't be sure. You don't know what the right answer is. You don't know whether it's going to work. There is no guarantee. Nobody knows. The final thing I'll say about podcasting that people don't talk about is the fact that you have to let it be known. And you have to be okay telling other people about your show. And here are a couple of things you can do it authentically. Because at the beginning, it's going to be hard. As a result of starting the show, my partner and I are traveling a lot more now. Sitting at dinner tables, sitting at these conferences, people will ask sometimes, hey, I heard that you have a podcast. What is it about? But you could also be in conversations where people have no idea that you have a show going on. And you can tell them it's okay. What you can do is you can even tailor certain episodes to people. For example, we have a subcategory that's become very popular for coaches, meaning I've interviewed a number of coaches on Faye's World. People talk about how they work as executive coach, how they work as a career coach, how they charge. These things have all been talked about. So if you were trying to imagine yourself, for example, to be a coach of your, in this case, I was talking to someone who's thinking about, working from home, starting to be a coach. And this woman in particular has a lot of credentials and she really want to leverage that and see if she has an opportunity. She has a shot at starting her freelance career. And we saw that opportunity to really share with her that these conversations that we have, of course, on faceworld.com, we tag everything diligently. So I'm able to go there. Anybody is able to go to faceworld.com in the search bar. For example, you can search for coaches and you're going to see a list and a variety of episodes you can consume right away. So tell other people, don't feel bad. Put it on your own personal social channels. If you have a business page, put it there as well. Promote your show in different ways. And best of luck. I'm so glad you're part of this journey. And please, we check all the comments for this video. If you have any thoughts, questions, I'm all for it. Thank you so much for watching.